Moral delivered chapter 3. Oh, look, Lily's calling July. Isn't you cute? Look how tiny he is. And he's funny, like you, Jonah? Jonah glared at her. He didn't like it that she had mentioned his age. He whispered, he's funny, like you, Jonah? Jonah glared at her. He didn't like it that she had mentioned his age. He whispered his father to chase Lily, but father was pushing and stripping the carving basket from the back of his basket. Jonah walked over to look at his love as he knew she pouring up curiously from the bags. The pilot's age. Almost every citizen in the community had that age. His parents did, and Lily did, and so did of his group members and friends. But there were a few exceptions. Jonas himself, female, but who he had noticed had a different light age. No one mentioned it. 16. It was not a rule, but was considered rude to call attention to things that were unsettling or are different about individuals. Lily, he decided, what happened to Leo the son? A short will require of the judgment because of her insensitive childhood. Father put his bag into a spot. Then he picked up the basket and carried it into the house. Lily followed behind, but she crouched back over the shoulder and Jonas and this. Maybe hang to something mother as you? Jonas looked. He followed with them inside, but he had been startled by the new chill urge. Mirrors were in the community. There weren't, but there was no real need of them. And Jonas simply never bothered to look at himself, but often the when he found himself on location, were mirror-sized. Now, chasing the new chill and inspiration, his well-woman and the light age were not a way to forgive to one who and temptation to look. What was it? Depth, he decided, as if a one body lurking in the clear water of the river, down to the bottom, where she might lurk which hadn't been discovered yet. He felt self-conscious, realizing that she, too, and had that look. He went to his desk, pretending not to be interested in the new chill on the other side of the room. Mother and Lily both went as father and gripped its blanket. What is comfort of your cat? Lily asked, picking up the stuffed creature which had been placed beside the new child in his basket. Father glanced at it. He bowed. He sighed. Lily rushed at the strong wolf. He pushed down again. She pulled at the unwaved new child, who waved his arm. Is the new child absolute? Lily sighed. I hope I get you a bit, mother. Lily, mother spoke sharply. Don't say that, but the honor and the treatment. But it was telling to Nastasia, you know, don't the who live around the corner? Some unvolunteer at beauty center, and she told me that my mother gave wonderful food, and they have both gently exercise period, and most of the time they just play game and most themselves while they're working. I think I Lily tag. Lily slightly petulantly. 3 years. Mother the other friend. 3 beers and third all. After that, they elaborate for the rest of their adult life. Until the day that enters of house the old. Is that what you want, Lily? The last year. And they have physical labor until you are old? Well, no, I guess not. Lily acknowledged reluctantly. Father turned the new child onto his thumb in basket. He sat beside and the room is more back with rhythmic motion. Anyway, Lily Bill, he sighed affection. The big mother never ever get to see new children. If you enjoy the lead on you so much, to show its nature. When you're 8 and start you born to shoot, you can't do some under neutral center? Mother suggests. Yes, I think I agree. Lily sighed. She cuddled beside the basket. When did you say his name? Gabriel? Gabriel. She sighed and she embarrassed. Then he Greek. Oops, he whispered. I think he's asleep. I guess I'd better get cured. Sure to a school accident on his deck. Some chance of that she saw. Lily was never cured. Probably she sold home for accident as a speaker. Sometimes she sold his office to my home all day, making an assignment. He loved silently to himself, picturing his sister journey of the self-important boy to all the speakers. Seemed to develop saying like attention to women to female under 9. They have women out to be related all time. He turned toward Lily and noticed the satisfaction to that women were all usual and young and giggling. It would be an assignment like he felt ashamed, and it would be very Maoly and Lily. To go their name, of course, would not to be mentioned. Everything would now. Everything has now. We remember with humiliation that an statement. Attention, this is reminder. Attention, this is reminder. To make elements such objects are not to be removed from the equation area, and the estimate to be 18 to no harm did. Had been specifically at him. That last month that he had taken an upper hand. One had mentioned it, not even his parents, because the public announcement had been sufficient to produce the appropriate remorse. It had, of course, disposed of the apple and made his apology to the equation direction the next morning before his Jonas spoke again about that incident. He was still believer behind, not by the announcement of the necessary apology. Those were exam producers, and he had deserved them, but by the incident itself. He probably approved after his feeling of bewilderment that wherever evening went to family and had shared their feeling of the day, but he had not been able to show and bad word to source of his confusion, so she had let it pass. It had happened during the vacation period when he had been playing with Usher. Now, what could we begin? Up an apple from the basket where the snack was kept, and had thrown it to his friend. Usher had thrown it back, and they had begun a simple game of cat. There had been nothing special about it. It was an activity that he had perfect control time. Throw, cat, throw, cat. It was effort for Jonas, and everybody in show and enjoyed it. And boy, what was a very cool activity for Asher because it was improved his and eye coordination, which was not up to a start. But suddenly Jonas had noticed, following the path of the apple sugar, the eye with which ace that the piece of fruit had. Well, that was a whole other quality understand. The apple he said, just for an instant, it was changed in my eye. He remembered that it was in his hand, and he looked at the colorful but it was the same apple, and changed, the same shape and shapes, and form spear. No some that could say about the same shape as his own Sonic. There was absolutely nothing remarkable about that apple. It had rolled its back and forth between his and a few times. He threw it again to Asher, and again, in sight earth for each time. Only it had changed. It had changed for a time. Jonas had blinkered. Look, Oh, brave. She can into smart. Point of the difficultation A attached to his journey. He waits his time quickly. He could also clearly see Asher at the other end of the trail area, and he had no problem catching from upward. Jonas had been complimentary as he had called it. Doesn't anything famous trying to you about your apple? Yes, I said back. Imagination is jumping up all my hand off the ground. Your ocean again. Jonas laughed too. And what he loved to each nearly an anti-conviction transformation had happening. But he had changed apple home. Again to a question about rules. That evening, before his power a lily, I waved at the gathering. He had held into his hand and looked at his colorful. It was light bush now, because Asher had thrown it several times. But there was nothing at all unusual about the apple. He had heard a magnet glass to eat. He had thrown it several times across the room, watching, and he rolled it around and around onto the shop, waiting for the event to happen again. But it hadn't. The only thing that happened was the announcement ladder to everything over the speaker. The announcement that had laid him out without asking his name. That had caused both of his parents to great mental answer, and he said what the apologies lay. Now, I see it at his deck. Straining at his stool work as his family hovered over the new chill east back. He shook his head, straining to forget the old incident. He forced himself to avoid his purpose and to a shiny island before the event meant. The new child, a student had whimpered as father spoke softly to Lily, explaining the faint producer as happened the container, the head, the formula, and equipment. The evening portion of all everything did in the family auntie, in the judging, in the community, reflective and child for the number and preparation for the day to come.